My name is Arin Lindauer, and you're listening to A Life Without Struggle. I'm a wife, a mother of 2 wonderful children, a 2-time best-selling author, and a highly driven and successful entrepreneur. In my 17-plus year career as a mindset and health expert, I know what holds women back from a life you only dream about. Whether you're a CEO, a businesswoman, or executive, I started this podcast because I have been where you are, and I know you want and deserve more out of your life. I believe women are limitless. We just get lost along the way. The process to get you there is the topic and purpose of this podcast. When you understand what you want, you can truly step into a life without struggle. Welcome, and I'm so thankful you're here. Welcome back to another episode of Life Without Struggle. My name is Arin Lindauer, and today we're going to dive into how do I know what to focus on? And specifically, I'm going to dive into this from a weight loss perspective, also some other perspectives, but truly knowing what to focus on can truly be everything in helping someone truly hit and achieve the goals. The problem that I see is too many of us just start focusing on 100 different things, or we focus on something for just a hot second, then we quickly divert to something else because we're not quite sure if that's really working. And this is where I truly find a sweet spot in coaching women, specifically on weight loss. But here's what happens. So many times I will have women say, you haven't told me anything that I don't already know. And I'm like, well, cool, that's great. So that saves us a step here. You seem like, reasonably speaking, you already know what I'm saying. So then what is it that truly holds us back? And truly what it is then the consistency of doing this over and over and over again. So I want to dig into, okay, how do I know what to focus on if I have a weight loss goal? And then I want to help you understand why we are so squirrel or why we can't stay focused long enough to truly make the desired impact in our life. Again, so many times these concepts can parallel business. After running a business as long as my husband and I have, it's interesting to me to watch so many people come in and out of our space. It's very interesting, even in this online coaching space, how many people that I have already seen come into this space and have already left because they quote unquote can't make it. And it's really no different. Running a business is no different than weight loss, and you have to be aggressively patient. And you have to be relentless on showing up every freaking day, even when you don't feel like that. So, okay, what do I focus on when it comes to weight loss? Reasonably speaking, the number one opportunity, and it's not going to surprise anyone here, is the number one opportunity is food. So food is going to be the first spot that I would tell most people to truly dive into. And the thing that we want to really highlight is we can't always be calories in versus calories out. It has been proven that that model actually isn't correct, but within reason, it can be a good model to start with. So what I'm getting at is there's differences in nutrient-dense foods. So nutrient-dense foods are going to provide essential vitamins, minerals, and just other nutrients that are generally better for you and just overall health than foods that have empty calories. So if we were saying, okay, hey, you need to consume 1,500 calories, and let's just say, reasonably speaking, you had McDonald's, you had chips and salsa, guac, Taco Tuesday, which, you can always do tacos well. You can actually do tacos really well. Actually, that's what I think I'm making tonight. But anyways, I digress. But you can reasonably eat really, really crappy, poor quality food. But if it is within your caloric needs and puts you in a deficit, technically speaking, you will see results. Now, you will only see results to a certain extent. And so this is where, yes, maybe. And so this is what's always interesting for me. For the most part, the clients that I coach, their food is better quality. They understand the differences. For most of my clients, they do not eat fast food, or it is an occasion. Like, it is not what it used to be. There's a very rare moment that I have clients eating fast food or processed foods or highly processed foods. So that I'm very thankful of, but it's always very interesting to me when I do have a client that, it's like, oh my gosh, this is every meal is fast food or processed. And they truly and sincerely have no idea the poor quality. And a lot of that just comes back to education and just understanding that, hey, these restaurants have to make margins, and they're typically not going to put the best quality out there so that they can make better margins. I mean, that is business. And so they're not worried about, is this the best quality? How much sodium? Is it causing inflammation? Is it wrecking your gut? And so that's where us as humans, we have to get smarter at understanding, like, hey, there's a reason why this meal makes me feel as bad as I feel. Here's the caveat. Most people feel terrible on a daily basis, and they don't realize how good they can feel. So we do want to focus on food. Number one, that is going to be hands down in a weight loss journey, one of the best places to truly focus on. And it's truly focusing on just your overall caloric consumption. How many calories am I taking in? How much protein am I taking in? If we're not touching 100 grams of protein as a woman, really need to work to get there. That's not an end all be all, but for most of the women that I coach, they desire to have a toned, lean look, and you're going to have to eat protein to help fuel the muscle, especially if we start resistance training. So want to understand what kind of food you feel best with. What am I currently doing today? And then what do I need to maybe remove? What do I need to add to? For most of the clients that I speak with, it is more of getting rid of the unnecessary foods. Or when we look at our dinner plates are so huge. We actually almost only use our salad plates. And that's just been a hack that, I've done that for so long now. But when you think about your dinner plate and you literally put a palm size of protein, a fist of veggies, a cupped hand of carbohydrates, or maybe 2 fists of veggies, like, you look at that food and you're like, oh, this isn't very much food. But here's the deal. If you just consume the meat and the veggie and you kind of just sit there, maybe have some conversation with your family, and then reasonably speaking, you kind of check in with yourself, satisfied. It takes a little bit of time, but you realize, like, oh, this is actually all I really need. And that, again, the awareness around our portions is one of the most important things you can do. Because again, even if you were eating not so good foods, as long as you're keeping it within better portions, still creating that caloric deficit, initially we'll absolutely see weight loss. So, okay, number one, we want to focus on our food. And so I'm sure that's not surprising to anyone. Another place that we want to focus on after we feel like we've got food really figured out is we need to focus on the workouts. And what does the workout actually look like? What does it contain? Is it serving me? Is it not serving me? For so many women, they don't know how to put together a complete program. They don't understand all the different elements that go into a progressive resistance training program. They kind of see what's in maybe Shape magazine, or I saw this TikTok, or I watched this video and this looks really fun, or man, I've seen some interesting ads on my feeds, and I'm just like, no. Please no. And really, it comes back to how I coach women to see actual weight loss that is sustainable for life. It is boring. The same with workouts. Workouts should not be quote unquote muscle confusion. They shouldn't be different every single time. You need to have progression, and you need to understand if on week 1 you lifted these weights, week 2 you lift these weights, and you want to see that you're adding a little bit more within reason, or it's getting easier by the end of a 4-week program. So when it comes to workouts, it's really important to focus on very foundational movements. You need to always have pressing, to pull. So you want to think about it. You want to have bench press, you want to have hinge patterns, you want to have overhead pressing patterns. You need to have a pulling pattern. So these are things that if you're not aware of this language, this is just like foreign territory to most women. And to be honest, until I went through school, this was very foreign even to myself because I just hadn't been exposed to it until I got into our training and classes. And then honestly, it was very much just hands-on application. And then it was also just me personally lifting myself. I mean, I will never forget the first time I was in the weight room of a pretty big box gym and just seeing all the guys. And then here's me, 5'3" on a good day, going to lift. And I was just like, why is everybody staring at me? And it was just very, very intimidating. And so I can appreciate why most women stick to the circuits, stick to classes, do cardio, do bar, Pilates, Orange Theory. I can appreciate why women do that because it is sometimes awkward to be with all the dudes and just around free weights and not knowing exactly what we need to do. This is why I highly, highly, highly recommend having a professional put together your programs, having good videos associated with them, or having a competent professional in person with you, helping you understand how to put together the right program. The reason why this is so important is, number one, we don't want to be counterintuitive. So what can happen in resistance training is we can do just the random high volume, low weight, which is very, very common. This is your Pilates, your bar, your F45, your Orange Theory. And so here's the deal. Those workouts are really fun, a lot of repetitions, and for the most part, you leave a nice feel good. But the problem with that is what we can see is do too much, meaning we do this day after day after day because, you get rewarded on some other systems for coming in more times, more adherence, more likelihood that you're going to keep your membership. So there's a whole lot that goes into this that actually isn't science, that actually isn't helping you understand how the muscle tissue actually adapts, how we do slight micro tears to the fiber, give it adequate rest. We work different body parts and we fuel our body then with protein or an amino acid that helps bind back that muscle fiber. So in essence, you want to do that micro trauma, that feeling of sore, but not, oh my God, this is too sore, right? Oh, I know I did something today. Whoop, there it is. And you got to kind of work it out just a touch, or you start going down the stairs. It's never up the stairs, right? It's going down the stairs that you're oh, I did something. And so you just want that edge of feeling that you did something. And you want to make sure that every workout you do has rhyme and reason to it. So I say this with all respect, is that most people don't know what they're doing really when it comes to these workouts. This is something that without time, experience, doing it yourself, you just don't understand what it takes and what it will take to see the desired outcome. And what we used to do in our 20s, I hate to say it, ladies, in your 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, you cannot do the same stuff. So 20s and 30s, you're pretty resilient. You can do whatever, but it does need to change. So I highly recommend having someone competent put together your programs so that you know you're doing what's right for your body for the desired result, but then also keeping yourself safe and also not being counterproductive. With some of these workouts where you're just left drenched on the floor, you've burned a bajillion calories, you're actually fighting your own body because guess what? Now you're hungry, and rightfully so. You've just burned a million calories. Therefore, you need to eat just less than a million calories. But I'm just kidding. But like, it is very, very challenging to not overindulge in those moments. That's why I'm such a huge advocate of like, not easy workouts, but like workouts that are just this moderate intensity to moderately and like high intense. I don't even know if that's the right way to call it, but it's enough that you're like, I know I worked out today, but I'm not like dripping sweat, drenched on the floor. Okay. Then it's like, okay, we've focused on food. We've focused on proper workouts and movement. Then it's like, okay, what are these other things? Does sleep really matter? Does water really matter? And I'm going to tell you that, yes, sleep and water are definitely things that you want to pull in. But what I want you to understand is those can take time. Even for myself, sleep has been one that I've had to truly take my time. I've had to monitor it and track it. I've had to test out different behavioral lifestyle things, different temperatures. Things that I personally do is like I try to really reduce the screen time or TV before it's time to go to bed. Also, I am really big on taking like a hot shower or a bath. And then the other things is keeping your room cooler. And so Tony and I go round and round on this, but like he's been setting our thermostat on like 64. And I'm like, dude, this is cold. But in his defense, his argument is, well, upstairs is warmer. So I can tell the nights that it's getting questionable on how warm it is. But another thing that I have done is we religiously sleep with a noise machine. So we have always had the noise machines for our kids. They're these $20, you get them in the baby section. Now, granted, you can buy way nicer green, brown noise, white noise. We just simply have rain is the setting that we have it on. But it's something to really consider, especially if you live in the city. We don't live directly in our city, but we definitely live on a end like lot. And so we definitely get more traffic than I realized. And even with more people moving to our neighborhood, there has been an increase in just hearing cars and just music or a heavy truck that went by. And it's wild what that can do to just disrupt your sleep. So it's important to really look into that type of noise to help you get better quality sleep. Another thing that has been wildly helpful for me, and I'm surprised that I've used this as long as I have, but I have been using this, and I don't even know how many years I've had this blanket, but I have had a weighted blanket for a very, very long time now. I had a client tell me about it years and years and years ago, and I was like, man, you're crazy. Like, I doesn't it feel like it's pinning you to the bed, or like, how weird is this? And I cannot tell you, like, I love the feeling of security, and it just is very calming for me personally. So if you're more wired, more anxiety type of person, now I will have to tell you, I have to throw a leg out because you can definitely get hot under but I think they've made better models now that are cooler. But anyways, I sleep with a 15-pound weighted blanket. And what's even funnier is we got our kids weighted blankets. They're, I think, 5 or 7 pounds, and they love them. They sleep with them too. Like, they request every night that they have this weighted blanket on them. So that's another thing to check out. And so just don't put pressure on sleep. I think the more you pressure yourself to sleep well, it's like it doesn't go well. And it's more about setting the stage and finding what works. And then it's just the consistency of it. Then the same thing with water. Like, anytime I tell someone to drink 100 plus ounces of water, which actually you can drink even more than that, just FYI. But the first time someone does it that hasn't been drinking water, they're just like, what? And you genuinely feel like you're going to float away. You feel like you're peeing all the time, which you should be, and it's a good thing. All your systems in your body will function better with water. And I'm talking straight up high quality H2O. And honestly, it does matter the quality of your water. So it's definitely something to look into between filtration systems or purchasing your water, which I know that's not the most economical, but when you think about how much water you're putting in your body, it's definitely something to look into when it comes to just the alkaline. Like there's so many things that you can do when it comes to your water, and it actually is worth it. We've actually been looking into a whole water system that, makes it a certain pH. Also, just the whole filtration process. There's so many processes that can happen that can truly just change your water. And it really does matter. There's a lot of stuff in our water that just we have no idea what's actually been in our water. So that's a big one. And then I wanted to bring this topic in as well is I hear these words mindful, and I think it's a really good statement, but I want to be careful with it because I've had clients in the past tell me I'm just really focusing on being mindful. Well, it's important to define what mindful means. So, like for example, we can mindful about getting 100 grams of protein in. You can be mindful about getting 1,500 calories in or 7,500 to 10,000 steps in. Being mindful is not an excuse to say, well, I just didn't hit my mark today, or, well, I was just really working through the pieces. So be careful with those words. I like them from a respect that we are trying to just do this in a very loving and supporting way, but it's also not an excuse to just trying to do this in this easygoing, I will be genuine. The more you can just be disciplined to doing these things, the quicker you're going to see the results, which means you're going to be more excited, which means you're going to stick to doing this. At the end of the day, I have given you kind of a hierarchy of, okay, what do we focus on? But at the end of the day, you have to be disciplined to do these things. You have to be okay with getting uncomfortable. You have to be okay with doing things differently. And here's the thing, and this is where I wanted to pull this full circle, is are going to hit some resistance. You are going to feel like this is hard, or I am hungry, or I don't want to do this. And the cool thing about that, it is purely feedback. You're getting the opportunity to say, hey, I'm used to doing things differently. And the second I try to do things in another direction, it gets hard or there's resistance. And I want you to expect that to the point where you're like, you know what? Arin said this was going to happen. There it is. And guess what? I'm going to continue to focus on who I actually want to be now. So that is truly everything. So to pull this all full circle and go super, super high level on you is we have to figure out who is the person that you want to become. What is the desired outcome? And then we can get really granular on, okay, what do I actually need to focus on? Now, notice this list is pretty short. Doesn't mean you have to be doing all these crazy things. And actually, I will tell you, the less you do, the better. And when we get hyper focused in on food, like if someone would just focus on food, they will absolutely see results. Typically, I partner food, steps. Those are kind of like my first two. If we don't nail those two, then we've got to get sleep and water. Like those things then come in. But if we don't get food figured out, like you will never see results on the scale. Okay. So if you're that person that keeps going round and round and round, lose weight, put it back on, lose weight, put it back on, there is something going on there that you have to understand. Why do I keep repeating this pattern, this behavior? And truly what I feel and what I've seen is we don't know what we want. We say we want to lose weight, but do we really? Because our actions don't line up to it. So clearly there is something there that is not clicking. And that's truly what you want to get really, really curious. And you want to ask yourself, what am I missing? Why will I not go all in? See, there was a time in my life that I wouldn't go all in on my personal health. It wasn't that I was overweight. It wasn't that I was super fit, but it was just like, I'm okay right here. And I will tell you, being content is one of the most dangerous places for us to be. It's dangerous to be in business. It's dangerous to be in relationships. You should be wanting to be more. What's that next edge? What else can I do? And see, this goes against all the narrative, all the conversations out there. Even my own father has said to me, why can't you just be happy where you're at? So I'm saying all this because, number one, we got to know what we should focus on. That truly requires us knowing who it is that we want to become or who we are becoming as a part of this process and journey. And just understand that there's never a final destination, that this journey truly is everything when it comes to our life and what's actually going to happen and all the goodness that's going to come is a part of this journey. So get on this journey. It's worthwhile. It's awesome. And go get them.